You're on.
You want to class by the show of hands? We like to play games. Okay, well, good. Well, I'm going to persuade you guys on how why EA Sports is the best company for games. EA Sports presents games like 2K, Madden, UFC, like all kind of sports games. So, for example, one of my examples, my first EA Sports game was Madden 2001. I was about like, let me see, I was about 5 years old at the time. It was a pretty good game. It had, you know what I'm saying, great players. John Madden presented the game. It was called Madden. He one of the top authors of presenting all the Maddens. So then, when I was about 6, I went to go get the Madden 2002. It was a pretty good game as well. So then, throughout that whole life, I just started getting like all the Maddens. And then one of my friends told me something else about another EA Sports game, which was 2K. And I wanted to get that game a try out. So I gave it a try out. It was a great sports game as well. And then carry on and carry on. So yeah, and for UFC, one of the top games in EA Sports, makes lots of bread. UFC 1, UFC 2, UFC 3 has great fighters in the game. You can create your own self on the game. You can play career mode. You can play story mode or like fighting mode. Anything. You can play against friends. You can play online as well. Another EA Sports game that you can play is, I'm gonna say, NASCARs. But once you like to race against other people and stuff like that, you can probably create your own car or drive on the streets. Like, if you don't want to race on the racetrack, you can do other stuff with the games. And another game that's I persuade you guys to buy is 2K. You can do my player. You can play, what was that? One-on-ones against each other on street ball and other type of games on that 2K. Then you can play along. You can play online as well. So I think that EA Sports is like better than any other company game. It's you can play EA Sports on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, Nintendo. I'm gonna say sometimes on your phone, because sometimes you can buy the games on your phone from EA Sports. And what else? I'm gonna say, oh yeah, like I was saying again, Madden. You guys can play Madden on EA Sports. It's a top selling game. Like recently, they just dropped Madden 19, so if you guys are gonna get that game, you can play story mode online with that game, and just you do a lot of stuff with EA Sports. So I want to persuade, in conclusion, I want to persuade you guys that EA Sports is one of the top companies around, and then they produce the most games, and it makes a lot of money, and it gets a lot of customers. That's all.
Everybody's scared. All right, Emmanuel, you've got some comments, please.
So your purpose statement was why EA games, electronic games, has pretty should have had a better structure, like more points, and should have referenced it in more sources. I think you presented well. And, like your actual reason for that. So it's pretty good.
All right, well, let's start with a couple of things that I think are pretty solid. I think you've got a very clear statement of what your goal is. You tell us what it is that you want us to believe at the end of the presentation. Your voice projects pretty well, and you sound engaged when you're talking about it, and I like the enthusiasm that you have in your presentation. I do think that the audience survey is a boring way to get the audience's attention. I like the story that you had better. You know, back in 2001, I got my first EA game. It was Madden 2001, and I just liked that game. It was so much fun. I played it, blah blah blah. And boy, when the one came out for 2002, I was in line on the first day to get that. Tell that story. That's interesting. That's more engaging, and you get us pulled in a little bit because of your enthusiasm then. And like I said, the purpose statement is pretty good. The problem with the content is that it's basically a list of some games that you've played that you liked, and therefore that's enough to convince us that we should be playing these particular games. There's not enough. First of all, you don't tell us what the criteria is that makes a game the best or better than something else. So what are those criteria? Is it the design of the game? Is it interactivity? Is it the different modes that you can play in? Is it the detail of the graphics? Is it the way the interface works with the player controls or something like that? I don't know. I have no idea except what you like. And what you like might be great for somebody who thinks exactly like you, but we don't know. Your audience may think 1,000 different ways. They may not be interested in any of those kinds of things. You're trying to convince this group of people to share your beliefs. You've only told us what your beliefs are. You haven't told us, why we should have that same belief, why we should be following in your path on those things. So I think that that's problematic. It's the idea of kind of organizing it around the different games is not necessarily a bad one if there's something about each of those games that is one of your criteria. For instance, if you said 2K, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what it is. Yeah, I know it's a sport game, but I don't know what kind of sport it is. If it's all kinds of sports, if it's a specific sport or any of those kinds of things. But let's say you're talking about that. Well, what makes this one? That Madden, what was great about that is that its graphics are great. So if I'm saying EA Sports or games are the best, I'm going to start by saying, my criteria for the one are the graphics, and Madden gives us these kinds of graphics. But there's another factor that makes it important too. Those are the different modes that you can play in, and 2K has 3 different modes. Not all games have these kinds of modes, and so on and so forth. So in other words, it's not a bad idea to organize around the examples that you have, but you got to tell me what it is about that example that makes this the criteria for judging something as being the best. You have no evidence other than your own personal experience on this, which, I might trust you, but I'm a trusting kind of person. You don't know the rest of your audience is going to see you as a credible source. And if Mala got up and said, no, those games all suck, I might be able to believe him because I've heard from him a half dozen times already about gaming. This is the first time I remember hearing from you about this kind of stuff. So, how are you going to build up your credibility, your ethos in this situation? And you need to do a little bit more than what you've done here. So your eye contact is problematic. You're talking in front of us, and I can tell that you're thinking while you're talking. And like I said, I think your gestures are pretty good. Your voice is engaged. Like I said, all those things are going well, but you're not really looking at us. You're kind of just in front of us, and you don't always, up here. This is where we are. That's where you need to look more. All right. Thank you.